would like to call the regular city council meeting to order. It's now 7 p.m. The mayor is out of town this evening, so I'll be presiding over the city council for this session. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad.
Here.
Councilmember Barber.
Present.
Councilmember Berenson.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
Present.
Councilmember Forster.
Present.
Councilmember Holman.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Townsend.
Present.
Councilmember Wills.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow absent.
Thank you. Will you please rise with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have no presentations or awards or personal appearance this evening. I'll ask Mr. Fairborn for staff report.
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Gratz to make a report this evening for Development Services.
Thank you, sir. I do have a pretty brief report for the month of May. Building activity is holding pretty steady right now. We issued a total of 9 single-family home permits for the month of May. A lot of site work activity going on right now there with some new subdivisions. Building activity, again, is holding pretty steady for this time of the year. What I wanted to point out was the activity that has increased from previous years more recently, which is code enforcement. This time of year for Mr. Vogel is a very busy time of the year because it's when folks are kind of getting into the habit of cutting their grass, but some of them haven't gotten into that pattern yet. We're also getting a lot of rain, which makes it very difficult for people to stay on top of that. And so Mr. Vogel has spent a lot of time over the last month or so just trying to keep on top of some of the repeat properties that we do keep an eye on every year, but there's been a lot of newer ones that just have sprung up out of nowhere this year, no pun intended. But I wanted to point out there, this year alone, for the this same time last year, we were about 43 permits. We're already at 45 this year, and so we're keeping pace with that. But something about this year just seems like it's a little bit different for Mr. Vogel. So he's been very busy out in the field. The rain has not made it any easier for him or any property owners that are trying to keep up with that. The other thing is the construction activity. You can see we're holding strong at about 533 homes under construction right now, which has been pretty steady with the lofts proceeding with construction. Each time one of those buildings gets turned over, it comes off of this, and then certainly each month as we issue home permits, that number kind of fluctuates. But that's really it for development services this month. Looking at planning and zoning meetings coming up, I just wanted to emphasize there are a couple projects that staff has been working on reviewing. There has been kind of a lag in, I will say, the engineering world a little bit. And so there are a couple projects that we thought would be on schedule for review heading towards the city council at this point. But there's a couple that we're still waiting on bits and pieces of information back from either the engineer or the developer. So from the council's perspective, you can expect a little bit of break from myself over the next probably month or so until things kind of get back into gear. That would conclude my staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grass. Mr. Fairborn.
Thank you, Mr. Grass. I would ask Ms. Hill to make a staff report for the city clerk's office.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, council. The city clerk's office has received 5 applications for the sale of fireworks, all of which meet the requirements outlined in City Code Section 215 that governs the sale and discharge of fireworks. After inspection and approval by the Development Services Department and the Fire Marshal, each location will be issued their fireworks permit. The names and locations of each applicant are included in your council packets. The sale of fireworks is permitted from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., June 28th through July 4th. The discharge of fireworks is permitted daily from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. July 1st and 2nd, noon to 10 p.m. on Sunday, July 3rd, and 10 a.m. to midnight on July 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Mr. Fairborn. I'm sorry, is there any questions? Seeing none, Mr. Fairborn.
Thank you, sir. I would ask Chief Zimmerman to make a report for police emergency management.
Thank you, Mr. Fairborn. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about guns and hoses after you all hear about it all the time. I just wanted to say that it was a great event. It raised a lot of money for a great cause, for SAFE and the Crime Commission, at least preliminarily north of $400,000 raised for the charity. And I want to thank our incredible volunteers, Councilman Barber, who donated the bags for the equipment for the boxers, Councilwoman Abdelgawad, who was there lifting and carrying things and directing traffic and doing all kinds of things. But I think that most importantly, I wanted to share with the council that we got a lot of comments from Raymore residents because, you know, Raymore was there in force, and we had a lot of people come up to our folks and say, I live in Raymore, and I didn't realize that, you know, all of these volunteers from Raymore were going to be here. So people were very impressed by the commitment of Raymore and the number of volunteers that we had there for the event. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but it was a great, great event, and it was because of the people who assisted with it.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions or comments for Chief? Mr. Begley?
Just a quick comment, just to highlight, we did have an officer fighting this year, and he did a fantastic job. And there was also a firefighter from Belton, correct, that fought. So Cass County was well represented.
Outstanding. Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. I would ask Mr. Murdoch to make an introduction this evening.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. Tonight here with us is our new Emergency Management Director, who is taking my position. And so in the audience is Mr. Tim Baldwin. Mr. Baldwin is here with his wife, Michaela, and I believe his 1.5-year-old, right? 1.5-year-old Cal. Mr. Baldwin has been with Arizona's Department of Homeland Security for the last 3 years, and is coming back to the Midwest. He is from the Midwest, Illinois, and so we wanted to welcome him and introduce him to all of you here. I'm sure if you have lots of questions, he'd be happy to answer every question you possibly have. Today was his first day, so we can give him every question you want, but we wanted to introduce him to you, and if you ever want, we'll do personal introductions as well. So,
Thank you, Mr. Murdoch. Any questions to staff? Any comments? Thank you. Welcome. Welcome aboard. Thank you. Mr. Fairborn?
Mr. Baldwin is somewhat quieter in his interview than Cal is this evening. Cal's been shaking my hand all evening, and I just now heard him behind us. Always nice to hear.
Yeah.
Last but not least, just want to remind the council that we do have a work session next week on the 20th. Currently on the agenda, tentatively on the agenda, is a presentation from a developer concerning their interest in a mixed-use development here in Raymore. Just wanting, as we always do, we don't discourage or encourage those developers. We simply do not act as legislative obstructionists to them and put them in front of the council. That concludes staff reports for this evening, sir.
Mr. Fairborn? Seeing how there are no committee reports, we'll move on to item 8 on the agenda, the consent agenda, and I would entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Holman?
Thank you, Your Honor. I move at this time that we approve the consent agenda to include the City Council minutes from the meeting of May 23rd, 2022, and item B, the amended and restated appointments and affirmations of membership to incentive district boards.
Thank you. Is there any questions, or is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. There's been a motion and a second on the consent agenda items A, City Council minutes for May 23rd, and item B, amended and restated appointments and affirmations of members to the incentive districts. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 8-0. Moving on to unfinished business, may I have the second reading of Bill 3724 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3724 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, approving the Raymore Commerce Center second final plat, lots 2 and 3.
Thank you. If there's no staff reports, are there any questions of staff? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Need a motion, sir.
Motion first, sir. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move at this time that we approve Bill 3724, the Raymore Commerce Center second final plat, lots 2 and 3.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second on Bill 3724. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 8-0. Moving on to item B, May I have the second reading of Bill 3726 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3726 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Hettinger Excavation LLC for the 2022 fire hydrant replacement project, City Project Number 22-407501, for the negotiated amount of $135,725, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you. If there are no questions of staff, I would entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Mr. Holman?
at this time, sir, I would move that we approve Bill 3726, award of contract to Hettinger Excavating for the 2022 fire hydrant replacement project.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion passes 8-0. Moving on to new business, may I have the first reading of Bill 3727 by title only?
The first reading of Bill 3727 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Bright Construction for the Mazuma Force Main Replacement Project, City Project Number 22-378-201, for the amount of $169,897, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you. May I have a staff report? Mr. Freeborn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I would ask Mr. Krass to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Freeborn, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. Staff is recommending award of this contract to Bright Construction. It involves replacing about, 350 feet of ductile iron pipe that has become damaged due to corrosion. The project starts in the vicinity of Conway Street, extends north along Sunset Lane, and then ties into a manhole that's in the, Mazuma parking lot. That concludes staff report.
Thank you. Is there any questions of staff? Mr. Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Krass, we've had some items come up on this before, haven't we? Has this been kind of a nuisance, or you've done some repairs on it? Is it kind of, is my mind, am I right or wrong?
Over the years, we've done a number of repairs, whether it's complete pipe replacement like this or some spot repairs. Based on the investigation we did last year, and we knew about this one, but this is the last segment that is in need of immediate replacement. The rest of the pipe, based on the investigation we did last year, is in sound condition.
Thank you. Ms. Forster.
Do we have any idea of time frame? Is this going to happen this year? Is this going to happen next month?
It'll happen this summer. Material deliveries are all over the board. So as soon as we have second reading and get a pre-construction meeting, we'll have a better idea of a schedule.
Just one last final comment, too. I know this is a local contractor that we've used in the past, if memory serves me correctly. Just wanted to recognize that they are local, and it is nice to be able to choose somebody that's from Raymore, and glad they received the bid for this. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no further questions. I entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Holman?
Sir, I move at this time that we approve Bill 3727, award of contract to Bright Construction for the Mazuma Force Main Replacement Project.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3727. Is there any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion passes 8-0, advances 8-0, excuse me. May I have the first reading of Bill 3728 by title only, please?
The first reading of Bill 3728 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, amending the Restricted Revenue Fund 04 for the purchase of 2 tracts of real estate.
Thank you. Is there a staff report on this item?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Ms. Williams to make a staff report on this agenda item.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, members of the council. Before you this evening for your consideration is a budget amendment for the purchase of 2 tracts of land. In December 2021, the city purchased undeveloped land to be used as location for the future Justice Center, and the amount of this purchase was $675,000. In May 2022, the city purchased a tract of land that was previously leased to continue using as the police firing range. The amount of this purchase was $350,000. It is necessary to amend our fiscal year 2022 budget in the restricted revenue fund in the amount of $1,025,000. That concludes staff report.
Thank you. Is there any questions to staff on this item? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Mr. Holman.
this time I move that we approve Bill 3728, a budget amendment for the purchase of land for the future Justice Center and the police firing range.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. The motion's been made and seconded to dispose of this item. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion advances 8-0. That concludes new business. And now
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, sir.
I am sorry. I would be remiss if I did not introduce the gentleman 2 seats down. Fortunately, we didn't have any legal questions tonight, but Mr. George Kapke joins us this evening from the firm of Kapke and Willerth, as Mr. Zur is out of town. So if you want to flood him now with any legal questions that I have managed to get around to introducing him, obviously Kapke and Willerth chose to send us the first team this evening in Mr. Zur's absence.
Excellent, excellent. Well, welcome, sir. Good to see you. Thank you for being here tonight. There are no questions. We're moving into our public comments section. If there's any members from the public who would like to speak before the council, please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Seeing no one step forward, we'll move on to mayor and council comments, and I will start to my right with Mr. Barber this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I guess I get to be the first to welcome Mr. Baldwin. Welcome to the city. I was a little concerned when you said you were from Arizona, and I was thinking, man, we get a lot of rain and tornadoes here, but it sounds like you're from the Midwest originally, so all that will come back to you. Mr. Grass, appreciate your reports always. Looks like there's a lot of dirt turning in Raymore. I know there's some dirt turning, we don't even know why they're turning it, so we'll find out at some point, I'm sure. I went to the first farmer's market. I just want to make a comment on that you know, the tomatoes are good. I got some tomatoes. I won't tell you who I got them from, but they're good. And it was really nice to see. There looked like a lot of people showing up to that, a lot of vendors. And hopefully tomorrow there'll be the same turnout, but appreciate all the activity. And one other comment too, on the chief of police, appreciate you recognizing me. I didn't get to go this year because I was down seeing my grandson, my first grandbaby, so I had a good excuse for not coming. But you made the comment that kind of triggered me that said a lot of people from Raymore, you know, 10, 15 years ago, you'd be in the metro area and say, I'm from Raymore, and they go, well, where's that at? And, you know, that's changed, and people know where we're at. And it's obviously we've got 22,000 people here that help, but I think it's some of the stuff that this council does, our citizens do, and our business community does that Raymore's getting recognized more and more. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I'll just piggyback on his comments on the farmers market. I was able to attend that as well, too, and it seemed like we had a good crowd there. The setup, it's definitely improved over last year, too. It seems like the vendors like the way it was set up. In the sidewalk and the grass, it just seemed like it worked a lot better. So I'm glad to see that slight change. Welcome, Mr. Baldwin. I'm sure we'll get a chance to meet here soon enough. Glad to have you here. And then finally, I had the chance to go with my wife and the girls to the Raymore Arts. Oh my God, I'm going to mess the name up now. Summer Scene. Thank you very much. My girls just loved it. They had a great time. I thought everything they did there, the Arts Commission did a fantastic job by handing out the art packets that they gave out, the art kits. You know, all the kids had to wait for that, and then they had, I think, 45 minutes to submit a drawing and then wait for that to get approved. But it's brilliant marketing, and you kept everybody there. I know I talked to you about this, but you kept people there for 2 hours plus, and my kids were not leaving. And also, my youngest 9-year-old was up last night almost till midnight. We couldn't get her to go to bed because she was up painting in her new art kit. So she wanted me to say thank you. So great job by the Arts Commission, by the Communications Department. I saw the Parks Department there grilling hot dogs and helping out. A lot of the police officers, everybody involved did a fantastic job. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Forster.
Again, welcome. Raymore's great. I hope you love it here. The people here are very welcoming, so your job's a little tough, but seeing people in their weakest moments, but welcome. We're excited to have you. I was going to piggyback off the summer scene. Great job. It was a lot of fun. I really liked the dancing, too, because I may not have participated, but it was fun to watch, like seeing the kids, like just all ages, from older to younger, and the vendors were great. Maybe spent a little too much of my money, but that's okay. So great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wills.
Thank you. I also wanted to say welcome, and Raymore is an amazing place, so we're very lucky to have you and very happy to have you. I always appreciate the very thorough reports. It definitely makes our job easier. And I wanted to say congratulations to Councilmember Barber on his new grandson. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Dugawat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll, Pro Tem, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, not taking that job. Thanks for correcting me. I'll continue the welcomes to Mr. Baldwin. Welcome to the city of Raymore, and it's a great place to be, great staff to work with, so I hope you enjoy it as much as I have over my 10 years of being on the council. So welcome to you. And then I have to return the kudos to Chief. The SAFE event, Guns N' Hoses, was fabulous. I think I shared last year, I hate fighting. So even for someone who hates fighting, it's a great event. Very well organized. It was wonderful, as Chief said, to have so many volunteers from Raymore there, to have people in the stands from Raymore there. Proud of Cass County, you know, from the position of the fighters and representing our county, but very well organized, excellent event, obviously, raising so much money for such a great cause.
Thank you. Mr. Holman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Really don't have a whole lot to concur with the comments. Welcome, Mr. Baldwin. Thank you for filling in tonight, Mr. Kapke. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Wanted to say that the summer scene was excellent. Had a real good time there. I think there was a certain point where the last band that was playing, if there had been a couple more people there, they would have played some more. But I think I was one of the last people there, and they were, anyway, they were really good. I really enjoyed, there were desserts that I had there. I had hot dogs there. I had wine slushy that was good after the other food. And then the music was excellent. But it was, oh, and I bought some art too. So it was a really good time. Also, on a different note, with it being so hot, look at your neighbors' houses. If their blinds are all pulled shut, they might not be on vacation. They might be waiting for their air conditioning to be fixed, and they're trying to, you know, keep it as cool as possible. But I know one of my neighbors, her children were checking in on her, and I was on my way over there to check on her, and but her children showed up before I could, you know, walk the short distance. But definitely, sometimes, you know, people drive into their garage and close it, and then you don't see them again. But maybe take a little look and see if you know, if they're doing the same normal things as always, and maybe they are out of town, and you should check on them for that reason as well. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Thank you to the council. And now in this seat, I see the difficulties the mayor has trying to come up with comments that haven't already been said. But one thing that I noted when I was preparing my calendar for the rest of the month and all the activities that the family and I are planning, I noticed there's some things that are unique this year that I don't think we've had in the past. When it comes to our Spirit of America celebration, our Spirit celebration with the 4th of July, I believe we have a 50-piece band ensemble with the American Legion coming this year, in addition to another jazz band, I believe, that to follow that on that evening, as well as, so just that alone is outstanding to see, and compliments to our Parks and Rec for coordinating, and Mrs. Harmer, I'm sure she had some doing in that. And just hearing the comments tonight, whether it be the summer scene, or whether it be the farmer's market, or whether it be all the other activities, those things speak true to Raymore. What makes Raymore Raymore. We can put all the streets and make the streets the best that they can be. We can make our streets safe. We can make sure that the water's flowing. We can make sure the electricity's trying to flow through. But it's what the community and the people that live here, what makes Raymore Raymore. And people getting out and showing their face, checking on their neighbor, and reaching out to each other and just being welcoming and inviting and enjoying their company. And I appreciate staff for putting those things in place and making those opportunities available, because in my short 10 years here, the things that we're doing today wasn't there yesterday. And there's great things that are still coming online with our Hawk Ridge Park, the Hawk's Nest, our TB Hannah's getting accolades nationwide. So the things we're doing, and with, as Mr. Barber has said, whether it be the Arts Commission, whether it be other council members bringing ideas, or whether it be planning and zoning, whether it be other volunteers of our other committees that support the city and our community as a whole, as we're expecting them to come out on July 27th for the community conversation to give us their input on what they would like to see next. And a lot of things that we're seeing today is based on previous community conversations, what the community wanted to see. So I appreciate the council and everyone working diligently to make those things a reality in our community, supporting those activities and coming out and showing their support for the community. And we're growing because of that. So we're at 22 plus now, and who knows, with all the growth that's happening, you know, we're going to be busting at the seams here pretty soon. But all good things, and I appreciate the council and everything they're doing. And the mayor echoes that, I'm sure, wherever he's at, has the same sentiment. So I believe we busted the bet tonight. So if there are no other comments, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Mr. Holman.
I move that we adjourn this June 13th, 2022 meeting of the Raymore City Council.
Excellent. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?